Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Barely Bookish podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about Salem's Lot, the 1979, miniseries. And I am joined by Nova and also James.
Hi.
Hello.
I was going to say
We're in my
what
category now, movies.
Woohoo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say what type of what this streamed on, but I actually have no idea. Like
Oh,
what
Shudder.
channel?
Shudder.
No, like
What
TV channel when it would have
do you
originally
mean?
came out. Do you have any idea? It's made
Oh,
for TV.
yeah, made for TV. I think it was made. Let me get that for you real quick. It was distributed by Warner Brothers. It was originally aired November 17th and on the 24th in 1979 on CBS.
CBS. Interesting.
Which back
Okay.
then, a lot of King stuff got pushed on there to CBS. There was Golden Years and a couple other things. I think in the 90s, that's when he started working with the program for ABC. So if you kind of notice, like even in the post 2000s, NBC, when he did Mr. Mercedes, that TV show, and a lot of his like murder crime thriller that had cops in it, that was all NBC. So each one of the huge television heads at that time, they all got a piece of King's, paycheck.
Nice. I don't. Was that still the era of time that they had like sex, drugs, and stuff couldn't be shown on TV?
Well, television really changed a lot more in the 90s whenever they did NYPD Blues. So, yeah, we were still kind of living in the, you know, like, what's, I don't always want to sit there and say the mom and pop, but kind of like that. The 70s, you still had like the spinoffs of, oh my God, Stefan's, not the Brady Bunch, but spinoffs of that too.
Mm-hmm.
You were still in that era of television. We had already passed the Honeymooners, which was the 50s. We were kind of edging out of Brady Bunch, which was the 60s. You kind of had Little House on a Prairie, I think, still going on. I want to say Gunsmoke was still going. So, yeah, you still had family wholesome entertainment. Hence why this was only a 2-night event, hosted so late at night for probably children not to consume, but just for the parents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know there was for a little bit there was some sort of TV laws, but I don't know
Yeah,
when that ended.
in a sense, because really television was always the family thing, even for the 80s. There was a strict thing that at night between the hours of 6 to 9, that was family time. So, like you even had Full House, which again was like early 90s. You still had that. But as we edged closer into the 90s, when we got shows like NYPD Blue and The Sopranos, they were much darker. They went on a little bit earlier sometimes. So, yeah, we kind of started seeing a change up. We still have the family friendly model today with certain shows, but obviously now we're allowed to say stuff like ass, damn, and hell and shit. Even kind of side tangent on wrestling, back in like the mid 90s, around 96, 97 ish. Two guys called D-Generation X, Shawn Michaels and Triple H, they would sit there and say damn, hell, and shit. But it would always get censored because USA was against that. They're like, we like the program you're doing it, but can you please not say all of these words, because they kind of go against our core value. We want to keep our sponsors. And so what they went and they said the same thing on television in a press junket mocking Bill Clinton, but obviously they blurred out the they blurped out the swear words. And then obviously they're all like, hey man, you can't fucking say that, and all of it would be blurped out. And so it's just them arguing and swearing. So that was kind of where television started changing, where they started to implement even just those simple words. But if I remember right, I think NYPD Blue sat there and said ass. That was the first, I think it was that or bitch. It was one of those two where that was implemented right then and there. And then that was groundbreaking enough because you said a swore,
You said a swore.
I swear, you know what I mean? hey, I had an excellent morning. Okay, so my dialogue could be a little iffy. I was thrown through the ringer. Yeah,
it's fine. I like it. I've spent all.
So yeah,
day
it's
now.
family friendly. It's 79, so it's family friendly still. So
Yeah, I noticed that when they're like, oh, only doing one single kiss, and that was like supposed to be the sex scene between
What are you talking about? Oh, well, yeah, they allured to it when they went to the park. Yeah.
yeah, I just thought that was
You,
funny.
well, do you really want to sit there have on television like hearing like cheeks clapped on
Well,
on
usually you
television?
get like a nice little fade to black moment or something, and this was like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. It was like,
Well, also
nah.
too, it's where they're at because back then, even like in the 60s, where Alfred Hitchcock reigned supreme with Psycho, when he did what is it? Oh my gosh, Jimmy Stewart, like North by Northwest. At the
Mhm.
end, when Jimmy Stewart and his love interest are getting ready to have sex, obviously they couldn't even show that in film,
Mhm.
so they used a huge metaphor for it because they were on a train and everything. And the moment that they're snuggling up and kissing, it cuts to outside the train, and the train's going right into the tunnel to insinuate penetration. So yeah, Toby Hooper obviously did not have a
That's
train and a tunnel
hilarious.
to insinuate that. But yeah, it's a fun way to get around those censors of law. Like,
Mhm.
oh, what are they doing? Oh, the train's going to the tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. That's funny. I did not know
Hitchcock
that.
was Hitchcock was really really great about doing that. He was great about working around the censorship.
Mhm. Makes sense. So, just starting off with this movie, I can totally see how people would think that Ben and Mark are like related because they very much looked related in
Mm-hmm.
this, in the prologue,
Yes.
especially. I do think it's kind of interesting that they decided to cut out the entire prologue. I feel like it works better for a movie. I'm not necessarily upset about it, but I just thought it was like an interesting choice. Like, I don't know why they would show Guatemala at all if they were just going to cut out the entirety of the thing, you know?
Well, it was supposed to be like their throwback. It was the what is it, the framing device for the whole movie
That's
was
fair.
Yeah.
they were already out. And yeah, they cut out the priest part and everything. But it was more or less supposed to show these two people are on the run. Why are they on the run? And then we
Hmm.
would have play out over these 2 nights, the events and
Yeah.
everything. So yeah, there's a lot of the prologue and the epilogue gets changed a bit, but I still think that this still did it justice.
I'm not
You,
mad.
you
I'm
didn't
just,
you didn't it wasn't completely horrible for
yeah.
79 to adapt something this ambitious was still pretty damn good.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not upset about it. I was just like, I don't know why. Like, you did it, but barely. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 79 graphics of the glowing blue holy water, though, slightly killed me. I thought that was hilarious.
I
I
loved
mean,
it.
oh my god. Like, they could have just made it glow, but they had up like this, like, Jesus, Holy Spirit white orb in it, and it was good. It was pretty good.
But if of course, in the book, whenever they would hold the cross up, what did it do? It glowed. So it
Yeah.
made sense. You
Yeah.
know,
It,
that
I,
was doing. They
yeah.
didn't make the crosses glow, but they made the holy water seem a little bit more powerful. And also too, they're working on a budget of $4 million for a 2 night
Mm.
event. For what you saw, that was four
Yeah.
million dollars, and that's pretty damn good because usually now it's more than that today.
Hmm.
Um, so Toby
To
Hooper
find
knows how to work on
everyone,
a shoestring budget.
and they had to fly everyone out to Mexico, right?
Now
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that they probably filmed all that, in South Cali, which is
Oh,
close enough to Mexico. But
that
a,
makes
a lot
sense.
of this was filmed. I recently had my photographer friend Miranda. She had a Airbnb up in, I want to sit there and say it was kind of North Cali where they filmed the majority of this.
Hmm.
And she sent me a picture. She's like, "Does this look familiar?" And it took me a while. And it's all like, "Is this where they filmed Needful Things?" And she's like, right author but wrong story. And I was like, well, what was it? She's like, this is where they filmed Salem's Lot. I was like, you're shitting me,
Hmm.
you're in the town? She's like, yeah. So she had an
That's awesome.
Airbnb. Yeah, it was like right around North Cali. I'll try to sit there, see if I can get her to send pictures to you guys
Even the
over it.
main
But
scenes are in California,
yeah,
like that small town.
yeah, it's all filmed in Cali.
Movies,
Also
same.
too, at the same time, I think this was right when David Soul, who plays Ben Mears, was getting right off of doing Starsky and Hutch. He played Hutch.
Mm.
So he was already an iconic television actor, and to put him in the lead, which is funny because Ben doesn't have blonde hair, but in this one he does. Hence
Okay.
why when you look at the prologue, in the movie, they look like father and son because they're both Mark and him are blonde.
Mm-hmm.
They really did, yeah.
I thought for some reason I imagined him as dark haired, but I was like, okay, maybe I'm just crazy. I don't know. But I'm glad to know.
You can go on YouTube and watch. There's this one channel that David Soul does, and he recently did an anniversary video, and he shared so many stories about working with James. Was it? I think James Mason.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, James Mason, who played Straker, and working with a bunch of TV legends like George DeZunda and all that. More or less just kind of like all this other stuff, and he kind of got like a little bit of a tirade with the remake of Starsky and Hutch, but he did an excellent job of kind of bringing us back to 1979 and what was it like on the set. But yeah, most of that stuff was all shot in California. They probably went down to South Cali, close to the border, to shoot the Guatemala scenes. Which down in at that time, I don't know if it is today, but they had some pueblos down there to kind of make it look like they were in Mexico. I don't know too much today about that, but yeah, that was 79.
Well, I mean, with the fact that they were stark sweating most of the movie, I think that makes a little more sense then. Because
Yeah.
I love, my favorite thing about like 70s and 80s movies is they have no shame in the game of just straight sweating through scenes. And
Yeah.
I think it's kind of funny. I don't know why. It's just one of those like movie things I really love is when you see the actor like kind of struggling but like not breaking character. Just like one of those things that gets me. Anytime I see someone sweaty when they definitely shouldn't be, it kills me on the inside. I just think it's really funny. It's just my thing.
I will defend though. Bruce Willis had every right to be sweaty in Die Hard.
Still haven't seen Die Hard, so I'll take your word for it.
Oh my god. It's the best Christmas movie ever made. It takes place on Christmas.
I know.
Oh, okay. You gave me that look like...
Listen, every man has said that to me, basically.
Daniel?
Like, no, he hasn't seen it either.
Oh my god.
We're not big, like, TV movie people. Like, we play a lot.
I don't know where we're going to go with this friendship now for the remainder of the podcast world.
I don't have a problem with it. We just don't really do that very often,
I get it.
I had just cable for like decades, so I'm very behind the curve. I try, but I'm very behind.
Yeah, I was mostly a book person, obviously.
Mm-hmm. We had like 10 news channels and then like 10 other channels. That was a collection of country music, Hallmark, the local advertisement, and then a couple others. So, great time. I looked it up, and 4 million in 79 is about 16 million today.
Ah, very good. Love that.
What was that again?
4 million for the budget then is equivalent to about 16 million today.
That's still not bad. That's still a lot better than what most, TV show miniseries and everything to begin with. But also, too, the reason why this looks way bigger than $4 million, it's all to Tobe Hooper. Tobe Hooper, who, for any movie buff out there, knows this is the man that did the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He did the original. And he did that on, I think, an even tighter shoestring budget compared to the 4 million that he got. So, like, yeah, to go from Texas Chainsaw to, I think he did Funhouse after that, and then he did Salem's Lot, and the man doesn't get enough praise. To me, I think this is actually his best work. He did Chainsaw, Eaten Alive, Funhouse, Poltergeist, Life Force, Invaders from Mars. Okay, hold on. He did Eaten Alive, and then he did Salem's Lot. Never mind. I got way too ahead. They did not put the TV with the film. I was like, wait, he did Poltergeist way before? I was like, no, that makes no sense. Poltergeist was the 80s. So, yeah.
I haven't seen any of these movies.
Oh, my God.
I've heard of most of them.
Guess who's good?
I have heard about them.
You guys are sleeping on some real good legends. All I gotta sit there and say is some of those movies I've mentioned, those are the absolute best kind of like cheesy horror or trash horror,
Listen,
especially
invite
Eaten
me on your
Alive.
podcast and I'll talk about it. I'll watch
Yeah.
it.
While you're getting bathed
I've
by
definitely
moon.
heard good things about most of them. Like I said, I just didn't have a lot of exposure. So now it's like catch up, and it's like,
well,
okay.
yeah, that was the same thing about us. It's I only discovered these films through like the video rental store, which that's putting an age on me. I was still part of that generation. The last movie I ever rent from a video store was Godzilla Final Wars, and that was like early 2000s. So like that goes to put an age on me. But yeah, and then came streaming, and in streaming you were so able to catch up on everything that you miss. And so I spent most of my high school life and my early adolescence just binge watching horror films that were both trash and just absolute god awful.
I have a fun story about streaming services.
Okay.
I have an aunt who early 2000s, someone came to her door selling stock for a company for a streaming service. And she was like, yeah, that's never going to go anywhere. It was Netflix in the very like early stages of Netflix.
Yeah.
She's like, I could have been retired by now.
Okay, here's a fun
I'm like,
one.
oh my god.
I've got you beat. Daniel's grandfather used to have like a lot of money. So he owned a 20-acre farm, I think, in the middle of Brainton. It was middle of nowhere, like where we used to live. And someone came to him and was like, hey, you should not sell this yet. One day it's going to be a really big town called Lakewood Ranch. And Daniel's grandfather was like, no. That town is where all the rich people live. And where his farm is where my parents just like built their new house.
Oh my god.
It's like that land is worth so much money. It's insane. And had they never sold it when they did, Daniel would have been like a millionaire. Like millions heirs.
My family had a resort on the Maine coast. And when the person who owned it passed away, none of the kids wanted it, so they sold it. And I'm like, no!
Anyways, I did like the fact that Ben hardly ever watches The Road, because I was like, dude, you're gonna kill someone. What are you doing? The way
that explains the wife's death.
Yeah, literally.
Oh my god! Yeah.
Literally.
In this adaptation, it makes so much more sense.
Yeah, exactly. And then also, he keeps like rolling up to the Marston house. Like he just keeps showing up and staring at it, sitting in the driveway. I was like,
more cinematic.
But I was like, I'd be uncomfortable, dude. Like if this is real life, if I had just bought a home and someone kept showing up and they're like, did you know there was a bunch of murders committed here? I'm like, no, dude. What? Why are you telling me this? Also, the Marston house from the outside, very cute. This is how I know I would have been that white girl that gets murdered in the first 5 minutes, because I would have been like, oh, that's a cute fixer-upper. And that's the problem with me. And so we went inside, and then I was like, ugh. No.
Yeah, but you do know that whole outside that you see, that's all built up set. That's not the real house.
Yeah, but it's so pretty.
It is. It is. It's like, for that, it's like, oh, like I would love to see that house. And then I found out in a documentary, no, it's not the real house.
Wait, the Marston house is based on a real house?
No. Okay, so when they were doing the filming and they were looking for a house to be the Marston house, they couldn't find any house that would look like that house. But they found where they could place it, and so they ended up building a front. So they paid the people. It's like, hey, go on vacation. We're going to build this and everything, because they made a deal, and like, what was it? I think they sat there and said that it was fine to do it, but leave the lumber And so that's what they did. They left it there. They just, you know, left it all there, and the guy just pulled it apart and used the lumber for other stuff. So there's an actual real house on that property, but quite obviously the house that you see on the inside, that's just a studio.
Nice.
But I know, I'm pretty sure people are listening to this. He's like, he's deconstructing the whole damn thing. It's like, yeah, welcome to filmmaking 101. This is what I do, folks. I deconstruct and everything. But it's so awesome because the owner of the house had no clue what the house in the script was supposed to look like.
Mm-hmm.
So when he drove up the road and saw what they built, they're like, this isn't my house. This isn't my house. And like his neighbors and everyone else were like, what happened to your house? What did they do to your house? And it's like, yeah.
Amazing.
And yeah, it scared a couple of the people, and they're like, what happened and everything. And I think even the cops were called at one point. And yeah, there's documentaries on this, and it's some of the most silliest little stories of like what civilians deal with when they borrow their house to a filmmaker, and they completely build over your house with this huge construct. And it's all like, yeah, sure, that's fine. Just leave the plywood. I like to use it later. So we have no clue where that plywood went to. Like maybe they used it to extend the porch or whatever, but
have a bonfire. I don't know.
Right? They got free wood.
Party.
Essentially, they got paid to go on vacation, and they got free wood. I was like, I think
cool.
that is the best that you can get out of a film set.
There's
as long as I don't have to move stuff, I'd be like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
Don't wreck my shit though.
There's a TV show I watch, and the farm, like the ranch that is in the TV show, is actually someone's home. And so like the inside scenes, they do it in their studio, but when they're like outside walking around, they actually rent this person's house, like use their house.
Yeah,
and
they
like
shoot
do stuff outside. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you can actually drive by and see it. It's locked, like the gate's locked, so you can't actually get down to the house, but like you can actually go by and like it's the full ranch just still sitting there. People
That's
use
cool.
it. It's their home. I'm like, imagine the money though that you get just from letting them come and shoot at your house.
It depends. We like to sit there and just aim as low as we can and not have to spend as much of the budget.
Yeah.
That like there's some people, like if they actually have the money to do it, they'll sit there. It's like, hey, here, go to Disneyland and here's the hotel for like however long we need that. There's some depending, but if you're an independent film, it's like, hey, can we borrow your place? We'll promise to clean up afterwards.
Yeah,
that's pretty much it. That is it from the independent, you know.
I think they have like them sometimes as extras on the show as well, because like some of the in town is like the actual town that's there. And, like, they built one of the restaurants, like, made it look like it. And it's actually a running restaurant under the same name now. They just use it when they need it. I'm like, I love it.
I mean, honestly, if someone said to me, they're like, hey, can I borrow your house for a film? I was like, are you going to wreck my shit? And they'll be like, no. And I'm like, are you going to mess with my cat? And they'll be like, no. And I'll be like, yeah. Have fun. But don't wreck my shit.
Right?
That's all I care about. Like, I don't really care.
In my mind, it's like, I'm going to wreck her shit. I'm going to pet her cat. I'm going to sit there and do everything I told her I wasn't going to do.
As long as I give her little kisses, that's all that's desired.
I'm just like, you pay me and
I'm not going to kiss some other person's cat. I'm sorry.
I mean, then you can't use the house. That's the rule. She's got a very kissable forehead.
Mine would be pet the dog.
They're like, come on, James, kiss the cat. I was like, I don't know where the fuck she's been. It's like, I don't just go around kissing other people's cats, okay? It's like, yeah, it's like going around kissing other people's moms. I just don't do it, you know?
Good Lord.
She finally curled up under her blankets, and now we got time.
Excellent, excellent.
I did notice one thing I forget about 70s movies is that everybody looks insanely older because of the fact that there's no Botox and there's a lot less like movie makeup, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they don't do as much like high, what is that called? There's like a specific type of makeup.
Well, again, this is only a $4 million budget. It's not anything higher, so yeah, they're having to use the best of what they could. But there is a huge thing when you looked at films back in '79 compared to television. Television did look super real, and that's because the makeup, you know, that whole dress wardrobe thing, you know, sometimes even the wardrobe, it's like, why the fuck are they wearing that? That's freaking tacky as shit. Even for its time, it's tacky as shit. But again, you're rolling with what you have, and you
Mhm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really sit there and feel like this had anything super tacky, but yeah, you could definitely sit there and tell there are a lot of old people in here, but it makes sense. It's supposed to be a sleepy little town in Maine where
Yeah.
not much of modern society comes in. It's more like it's locked itself off, you know.
Hi, our population is mostly old people. You're welcome.
It's
They
the
nailed
northern
that.
Florida.
Yeah.
Look, they come here in the summer, they live here for 6 months, they go to Florida for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
We share them.
Yeah.
You could have them all the time, though. Actually, if you want to keep them, that would be lovely. Thank you.
Pretty sure she's tired of seeing like all those 60-year-old guys, you know, they're like in a little what is it, speedo rolling down, you know, the freaking sidewalks and everything, getting their sunbathing on with their liver spots and all that.
Dude,
Over half of my hometown
Mhm.
is owned by seasonal residents. They're not there the majority of the time.
Wild.
What were you saying?
The main problem I have is with snowbirds is the fact that they like to go 65 and a 70, and that there's also so many of them. So many of them. Do you know how hard it is to get places in the winter?
Hi, we deal with them in summer. Actually, we deal more with tourists in the summer, let's be real.
Yeah.
There was someone shared on TikTok the other day that's a Maine person. They're like, bye tourists, see you next year. It's like the southbound highway is just clogged with traffic, and there's like 4 people on the northbound.
Amazing. What a vibe. So, another thing is they changed up a lot of the characters. So now we have Bonnie with someone named Cullen. Cullen's name is not the same because I don't remember what his name was, but it wasn't Cullen. I think it started with an R.
It was like Reggie?
Yeah, I think it was Reggie. Wait, maybe? I don't know. But it wasn't Cullen, and she is cheating with Larry Crockett. They took out all of Larry Crockett's story, basically. And, like, still made him crooked, but now he sleeps with Bonnie.
Yeah, because Bonnie works for him and
Mhm.
everything. So they just replaced the telephone line guy with Larry, which really, if you kind of look at it in the book, they're both very, you know, slimy in their own ways. Crockett took a back deal and was supposed to get all this money just for taking the Marston house and the laundromat for like $1.
Mhm.
And, you know, again, when we go up with the Glick boy that, you know, one of the guys find in the basement in the book and everything, and then, you know, it's like, oh, you didn't see anything, and pays him a little extra and everything. Yeah, they kind of melded some characters that they fit could go together, especially like Susan's dad is also Dr. James Cody, so they combine those. Yeah, they saved it also on just the casting. Again, $4 million, you know, budget. So they looked at who could they put together, and I think they did a fantastic job with it. It didn't.
I did not like Dr. Bill Norton because it made it cringy with him, like, believing Ben, in my opinion, because it involved him, Ben and Susan, in a lot more like intimate situations that her dad now had to know about, and I did not like that. I thought that was weird. I feel like they should have casted somebody else to be.
I feel like that was
people.
One combo that I also didn't really care for. Like, I get combining, because obviously, like you said, money, but also you can only have so many characters on screen versus in a book. But that was one I was not a fan of, just for that reason of, it was just weird having him be so close to it versus previously not.
I feel like you could have meshed together Matt Burke and Dr. Cody and just taken out a lot of Matt's plot line with having a heart attack and meshed the two of them together. And I feel like that would have worked better for me than having Susan's dad be the one that's the doctor. I really don't even feel like, I feel like those should have been two separate roles. I don't.
Yeah.
That specifically, I feel like should not have been meshed together.
Yeah. I feel like the doctor should have definitely been its own.
I think in this adaptation, they, what was it? I don't think Matt Burke did actually have a relationship with Bill Norton. Like in the book where
Yeah.
Cody was supposed to have the relationship, they
Mhm.
completely axed that and everything.
Yeah.
But they
Yeah.
actually had it more where they had it more in this adaptation that Ben Mears and Matt Burke had a connection, because I don't think in the book, if I remember correctly, I don't think Ben was a student of Matt, but
No.
that was made directly. So yeah, they had to sit there and they had to exchange a couple things because Cody was a student of Matt.
Mhm.
And so they switched that. So yeah, there's a couple things. So if you think going into this that they're going to do a straight adaptation, they're not. But this is the closest so far that they've ever done to
Mhm.
to like the straight ahead adaptation of the book.
Mhm.
You know, it's to me it's still the perfect one. You know, I know we're going to be covering 04, but I fucking hate 04 and I hate what they did to it. They only did one good thing, but we'll talk about that later. They only did one good thing in that adaptation, but the rest of it, I was like, what horse shit? I want to see the producer. I want to see the studio heads. I want to smack them. What the fuck were you assholes thinking? You know,
I'd like to see the manager, please.
I'm wondering.
I don't mean to be the Carl, you know.
I want to know what the next, the one they're working on right now. I kind of wonder what that's going to end up looking like.
If they even release it. Because again,
Mhm.
they took it off it was supposed to come out this the month of September. I think it was supposed to be September 20 something. I want to sit there say right around that time, and then they pushed it back to February of 2023, and now they just took it off the block because of the Discovery merger.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't even know if we're ever going to get this.
I don't know. I'm curious though.
I'd be pissed if we
Yeah.
don't, because it actually does have a really good cast. It has a pretty Bill Pullman, if anyone knows who that is, he did Serpent in the Rainbow. He did the Christina Ricci Casper movie. He played her dad.
Oh, yep.
And his son is playing Ben.
Ooh.
Yeah, and he looks almost like Bill. So it's, you know, like there's some changes, but yeah, like I was really looking into it because I've never seen his son act. So I was like, this would be awesome if this is his son's breakout role. And now I kind of feel like it just got taken from him.
Yeah.
If it's already recorded, I don't know why they don't just release it. It's kind of dumb.
Mostly because WB, after the Batgirl, movie, because they did a whole pre-showing, even though it still needed money put into the budget, and the budget had already been extended to what it was supposed to be, it still needed more special effects, and the pre-screening audience that got to see it, they didn't like it whatsoever. And so with the new Discovery merger, the new CEO overseeing everything was like, no, like HBO was throwing all of this DC stuff and some of this other stuff, they're throwing it on their streaming service, when most of this stuff needs to be a theatrical cut, because they're wondering why they're not making back their money. It's because they're throwing everything and trying to get the streaming platform to sit there and pay for it all, when it's not. It's never going to sit there and cover any of those loss. So now what they're doing is they're looking at what all they going to cut, because we may even lose Doom Patrol, and I love that series of death. That's what, to me, what brought back Brendan Fraser. And now he's got this movie called The Whale coming out that he's getting high praise for. But there's a lot of these shows that WB's been doing, a lot of movies that WB has been releasing, and now with WB losing some studio partnerships, like for the Dune movies and the Godzilla Kong movies, like the whole Monsterverse, they may lose it all because Legendary is looking for a new home to set up shop. So right now, everything is being completely redone. They're focusing less on streaming. They'll still have streaming stuff, but they want to get back into the theatrical release. And that's kind of hard because of what we did in the pandemic. It was like, people need something to watch. We need something to entertain these people until we get things back up and running. And now that we've been trying to rely on this system for almost 3 years, now we're trying to get back into the theatrical system again. We're trying to go back to what was before, and it's hurting so many other, to me, it's even hurting Disney, because you can definitely sit there and see the quality of what they're throwing out there on streaming. And it's like, oh, if they actually worked a little bit harder, this would have been a far more better theatrical release. And everyone's losing money. No one's really making money. Not even like the big studios. No one's making money, or as much money as they used to because they're trying to find a perfect balance between streaming and the theatrical stuff. And that's what WB is going through. So I don't know, again, if we will ever see this because, yeah, it has a great cast. And I think they had James Wan be the producer of it. So again, you know, another guy who works great in horror with the Conjuring, the Saw, and I think I forgot what the hell the other supernatural movie thing, the one that they had like 5 freaking sequels out of, Insidious. There you go, like the Insidious franchise. That was all done, I think, by James Wan. And yeah, tirade over. Okay, on my talk. But in all honesty, that's all what's happening. And if people don't know, like, that's the de facto answer. It's companies are having to reschedule everything.
Yeah,
and we don't know if we'll ever get this movie, let alone a whole bunch of other movies we've been looking forward to from the WB brand. But Discovery is trying to help.
Fingers crossed, then.
Yes.
They gender swapped Dr. Cody and race swapped. Alfre Woodward is playing Dr. Cody, or was. Someone named Palau Aspak. He played Euron Greyjoy on the TV series Game of Thrones. He was cast to play Richard Straker. John Benjamin Hickey is cast to play Father Callahan. Jordan Preston Carter as Mark Petrie. Nicholas Crovetti and Cade Woodward playing Danny Glick and Ralphie Glick. Spencer Treat Clark to play Mike Ryerson. Mackenzie Lee as Susan Norton. Bill Camp as Matthew Burke. They don't even have who the hell was supposed to play what's his name? Not Straker, but Straker's master.
Barlow?
Yeah. But they have William Sadler in an undisclosed role, so chances are William Sadler would have played him, which, if you guys don't know who he is, he played one of the important convicts, Haywood, in the Shawshank Redemption. He did a lot of Stephen King properties. Apparently he played Matthew Ellis in Iron Man 3. He played Death in The Bill and Ted Bogus Journey and Face the Music. He played the villain in Die Hard 2.
Did you just say Barlow was the creepiest vampire I've ever seen? I hate it.
No.
That was really creepy.
But what was it? I think he was in Demon Knight. I think he was also in The Mist. Yeah, he was in The Mist. He played one of the townsfolk that was following the crazy religious lady. He was one with the hat and everything, where when they were making fun of Thomas Jane's character and the clerk with the gun about sitting there saying that they saw something out there in the mist, and that one busboy was all like, "Oh, you're full of shit," and pretty much they watched that boy get fucking ripped to shred by them tentacles with the claws on it. I don't know if you guys have seen The Mist.
I have. I just cannot place the person.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure once you see it, it's like, oh, that asshole. And it's like, yeah, that asshole.
Oh, probably. Yeah, I just can't place it at the moment.
William Sadler, he's done so much work. And if he did play Barlow, I do think that he would play Barlow very much similar to probably how, what's his name? He was in Blade Runner, the original, and he played the villain in that one. But he played Barlow, and he was the most accurate Barlow from any of the adaptations so far. He just had that look, mostly because I think he's from Finland, or he's from the Netherlands. So he has, like, because, he was supposed to have those strong European features. He had that. That's the only thing 04 got right, was Barlow and everything. And so when I read the
Barlow
book,
was supposed to be hot.
Kinda. It's like he's kind of old, but like he looks like he could still be that charming, kind of suave European kind of. But obviously, he could still be that, like, you piss me off, and I'm gonna turn rabbit on you.
Yeah, because I thought, like, people were, he was supposed to be like a kind of like almost approachable, by the way it sounded like in the book, of people were like, oh, there's just this person here, and he came up and he talked to him. And then in this movie, it was just like, that's
Weird
straight
vampire.
from a nightmare.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be talking to him. Goodbye.
In 79, it seemed like Toby Hooper was doing the Nosferatu Max Shrek look. Like, you know, Salem's Lot 79.
Yeah, I haven't seen Nosferatu, though.
Oh, it's not that far from a difference.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know I needed to
they
know
almost
something
copied
about
it. They almost copied it, almost look for look, but Barlow had more of a dome, where Nalder had more of a smaller head, but they emphasized a little bit more on his rat teeth and everything. Yeah. So I should have worn my Salem's Lot shirt instead of my AC/DC shirt.
And other news of different changes they made, they also cut out Eva's first husband and just made it so she like married and divorced Weasel, which was a choice. Also, she called him Weasel instead of calling him Ed.
Yeah.
As if his name was actually Weasel.
But also, too, at the beginning of the book, she even still referred to him sometimes as Weasel. It was only whenever they kind of got a little intimate when she would refer to him as Ed. It's like she knows that everyone calls him Weasel, but yeah.
Oh, and they made Weasel the person who was the nosy neighbor. They made him homeless, drunk, and the nosy neighbor. And I was like, okay. Yeah. I guess.
And Gillespie would kind of bribe him with money of like, come on, Weasel, we know you get around and everything. And I love Weasel in this adaptation, especially when Larry Crockett, feels like someone knows, and then Weasel's like getting warmer, and then Crockett's like, the fuck's that supposed to mean? And he just smiles, and it's all like, dude, he knows you're fucking Bonnie, you know.
Oh yeah,
and I loved it because he's background.
Go for it.
Sorry.
No, go for it.
In the background of so many scenes, though, if you like looked over the character's shoulder and he was just like looking.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa.
He's the person you wouldn't expect, which made him perfect because everyone's like, oh, it's just this homeless guy. Like, whatever. Like, what's he going to do about it? It's kind of like that person you never think of. And then he's got all the info.
I love Elisha Cook Jr. It's like, he's such an amazing actor. And when I saw him as like a kid, it's all like, oh, this guy's like, he looks so familiar. And it wasn't until I was a grown adult when I started doing more heavily investigation into a lot of, the films and the characters I grew up seeing. He was one of the supporting role cast members in the original House on Haunted Hill. He did not change whatsoever facial wise. It's just, and the thing is, it's, he was such a hard man to find, that actor at that time, because by then he like, what was it? I think he lived out like in the middle of nowhere, and so the only way to get a hold of him, because you couldn't call him, was you have to go out to his place and go find him. He was just a hard actor to find. What a vibe. He was like, if you want me to work for you, you have to go out there and find me.
Oh my
but
gosh.
he's a wonderful, wonderful actor, and to see him as like, oh, he was in House on Haunted Hill. It's like, how many of these classic actors did Toby Hooper and company brought in? Because James Mason, again, like, he was past his prime. Like, this guy was known for like A Star Is Born, with Wizard of Oz lead. I can't remember her name right now, but yeah, like, he co-starred with her. And when I go back and I look at these, it's like, there's so much Hollywood classics in this movie. It's what makes me love it.
That I've never seen.
Oh, I know. Like, once we're done with this episode, you're gonna have a whole fucking list that's gonna take you the rest of the year to probably even scratch the surface of the list.
And now the next follow-up, Ray watches all the movies she's never seen before. Hollywood classics.
Yeah. I'm gonna be over here. It's like, wasn't that great? It's all like, it was all in black and white. It's like, oh my god. It's like, what's wrong with you guys?
Black and white movies.
I watch I think most of my films nowadays are all black and white films that I watch, and people are like, why do you watch that? It's like, it's so old. It's like, yeah, you're so stupid, but obviously we're going to state the obvious here. And I just like old classic films because now it's like a lot of what I see today, even when I grew up watching, I see it at the beginning. So it's something more of like a reward of, I get to find it at its root cause, like, even some of the epics that my mom was a fan of, when I watch them now and I watch them with her, I was like, oh, that's from Battleship Potemkin. And she's like, the what? And I was like, that scene, it's the same thing with the baby, baby's crying, goes down and she's like, you fucking nerd.
We love it. We love it.
That's what it is now. It's like for my mom, it's like we watch anything, she looks at me, she's like, shut up, do not overanalyze this movie. We're going to watch it. And then I'll be over here like, okay. And then the moment that I'm being quiet and we're watching a movie, my mom's like, I wonder where that person's from. And my brain's already clicking like a registry. It's like, and like, yeah.
Gothic encyclopedia of movies.
She looks at me and she's like, is this what I really sent you to college for? It's just to be... I was like, I was already the encyclopedia before college. It's like college just magnified some of the other stuff I did not know.
And
next time I'm watching a movie, instead of Googling an actor or actress, I'm just going to send you a picture. Like, tell me how I know this person.
Who dis?
I give them like 5 movies and everything, how they died, whatever little scandals they were a part of.
I like the scandals. That's my favorite thing is when I was watching Sense and Sensibility, I think it was. Me and my cousin were discussing it on the podcast. And we found this, we went on this long tirade where we found out this person got married because of this movie. And they went through this, divorce. It was insane. All this scandal.
Yeah. The Natalie Wood story, you need to look up that one. She was loved by 2 guys and died drowning on a boat where both men were at. It was deemed an accident, but there was a lot of people that kind of wondered what the fuck happened. Was it a cover up or was one guy jealous of the other guy and so they took it out on, it's pretty controversial. Even my mom was like, because what was it? I think it was Christopher Walken. I think he was one of the people. I forgot who the other guy was.
That name sounds familiar.
Cowbell, from SNL, I got a fever and the only prescription is more cowbell. Nothing? Holy freaking hell. I just gave her another damn thing to watch now. The list is piling up. Before the end of this episode, she's going to have 500 movies to
I've only
watch.
seen a few.
Did you watch I Love Lucy at least on TV Land? Oh, Jesus Christ.
Let's see if I know any of his movies that you may know.
The name rings a bell. Couldn't tell you why.
I don't know hardly
Christopher
anything.
Walken.
Yeah.
He did The Deer Hunter. He did The Rundown. He played the villain in that one. He fought against The Rock. 7 Psychopaths is probably a recent one that he's done. Really? Shit.
He's in Dune Part 2, but that hasn't come out yet.
Oh, really? I can't wait for that now.
He's in some episodes of The Outlaws.
He did Stephen King's The Dead Zone.
He's King Louis in The Jungle Book.
Yep.
There you go.
That's a recent adaptation, yeah.
Oh, the recent one? I don't know if I've seen the recent one.
2016?
Nope.
I don't think I saw it.
False
the
alarm,
one that's
folks.
live action?
We thought we had her.
I don't know. I don't think I've seen that one. Honestly, we're going to be here all day. I probably just saw the name in the news or something.
He's in a lot of stuff, but a lot of them I don't even know or have seen. 99 Sleepy Hollow.
Nope.
Ants.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was in Sleepy Hollow.
Ants, the animated one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that.
He's one of the ants.
You never seen the Tim Burton Sleepy Hollow? The one with the Headless Horseman? Wow, that one I thought she would have seen.
I haven't seen that one, but I watched a lot of the TV show Sleepy Hollow when it came out. Because that was pretty good.
I tried to get into that. I just could not.
It was... There were definitely some that were meh. But it was pretty good.
Anyways, Salem Lot movie.
Salem Lot movie.
One of the things I really want to talk about really quick is the fact that when Bonnie is cheating on her husband, the windows are open. Not only do you live in the smallest town physically possible to still be considered a town, where everybody knows everybody, but you also are just cheating on your husband with the windows open. Like, are you stupid?
Mm-hmm. You,
Like, she,
yeah, small towns you can pick up on some of that stuff really easy, and to have your windows open is just like you're. Why don't you rent a billboard
yeah, just be like,
at this
I
point?
cheat on my
Like,
husband. Just throw it up there, you know?
like,
But of course, she was dumb enough to think that he was sent off, to go pick up that package for Straker and
mhm.
everything. And no, he already knew. He knew there was something going up. So
Yeah.
the moment he's telling what's his name, Larry Crockett and Ned Tibbetts to, like, hey, like, here's the truck, go pick up the damn package. And
Yeah.
it's more like, it's what is it, because they didn't get paid off like in the book and everything. They were just like, go up there, do what the hell the guy wants and everything, and get your ass back here. And he's like, what are you gonna
Yeah.
do? It's all like, I gotta handle some business first. And then you're like, wow, that's pretty quick that he's caught on that his wife was fucking around with her boss and
Well,
everything.
it's funny how quick they're like, oh, she's probably sleeping with him. That's probably what he's doing. And they're just like so like nonchalant about it. They're just
Yeah, I
like, oh
know.
yeah, guess it was time for her to get caught.
Yeah,
Well, like,
he's like, well, what would you do if you had a gun in your gun? Like, whoa!
Right?
but like also too, at the same time, like when we were introduced, he was looking at her breasts, so he didn't even make it.
Yeah.
When they were in their when they were in their workspace, he was obviously staring at her breasts, and she was making it very well apparent to look at my breasts. They knew exactly what they're doing, and they were doing this shit in front of the town, thinking
Yeah.
that they would not get caught, thinking that her husband was just some drunk idiot. And it's
Yeah,
like,
they're
nope,
dumb.
not this time.
So
But
dumb.
stuff gets around so fast in small towns that it's like majority of people probably already knew, and they were just like, don't say anything.
Now, if they had that one woman in there that's constantly yapping her mouth off on the telephone wire and everything, that shit would have been found out a lot sooner in this adaptation.
Especially because she's on the phone being like, I want you to come over right now. I need you. But like, bruh, anybody could just pick up the phone and be like, what? Oh, interesting. Like, because they all share the same telephone line. Town's too small.
Yeah.
So, what are you doing?
But
Oh,
but
yeah.
also too, they kind of changed a little bit of the outcome where you don't really get what was in the book and everything. Like, we just more or less get more of a snapshot of like, oh, he hits her. That's about it. So that's all
Yeah.
we can probably just sit there and afford is he still abuses her, but it's not nearly probably in the most graphic way in which the book portrayed, which I think at that time they probably would not have been able to do that. Because there was even still some extremes of Stephen King's books. We're not even touching the stuff that he secretly wrote under a pseudonym. But like just his books alone, there was some that you couldn't touch the subject on television or movies yet until a little bit way later, where it was socially much more acceptable for that. So
Yeah, I also think like it's sad too that she's the lucky one because she got out of town when he like basically kidnapped her and got her out of town so she didn't turn into a vampire like the rest of the town did. I also think it's interesting that all of this happened over like 3 days. Pretty much.
yeah, this was a lot more quicker.
Yeah, like Danny Glick turned into a vampire the same night and was at like Mark's bedroom window trying to get in.
Yeah.
Like same night. I was like, okay.
Yeah, it was very quick storyline in this one for sure.
Yeah,
Which is
they had to
fine.
speed up it makes sense. If they would have did a TV show out of this, then they probably could have stretched it out to like the 3 months. But film, you have to have everything. You can't just keep skipping month over month over month, because sooner or later people are gonna be like, well, where are we at now? Like, where are we in this story? Because if they have to keep up with the timeline, even if you have like a great story, if you keep hopping over and it's not made so clear, you're gonna feel so, what's the word,
Lost.
I think it's more than lost, like just disjointed.
Yeah.
You would feel so disjointed that you'd be like, like all this is happening within this time span, but yet we're crunching it into 3 hours and 3 minutes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
one thing we learned in screenwriting was that you don't have the same freedom as like a book just because you're trying to make it for a film. You have to adjust things like the timeline to make it fit for film versus the book.
But you can
Yeah.
still sit there and do time jumps because they did
Oh,
that.
yeah.
They did that with Benjamin Button. They kind of did that with Shawshank. Because even for the length of what that, it wasn't a 3-hour movie, but it was close enough to it, and that was supposed to talk about almost like a whole sentencing of what Morgan Freeman's character went through. You know.
Yeah.
So there are ways to do it if you know how to cut at the right time, and then pick up at the right time where it doesn't feel.
Yeah, exactly.
Too much.
Oh, I did forget to mention, I totally saw Weasel in the background of the scene of Cully holding a gun up to Larry Crockett in the living room because there's a mirror on the wall, and if you look in the mirror, you can see Weasel staring in and watching.
You know what? We need to make a drinking game out of this. Every time we see Weasel in the background, we take a shot.
Yeah.
Because now I have to go back and watch that. I did not pick that one up. That one's new.
I saw
Thank
it.
you. Thank you for picking that up. So now I definitely have to watch it.
It's at the
sometime
very
this
first
weekend.
part when they walk in the room. That's the only time it lines up and you can see him in the mirror. The other
And
time
watch, he
the
wasn't
mirror's
actually supposed to be in the scene. That was just a hiccup in everything.
It would be funny either way. I don't know.
Yeah, you know, it's like anytime this actor pops up on screen, take a shot.
I mean,
and-
look at what they were doing with the window open. If you wanted a free peep show,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
there
he's
you
over here with a
go.
beer, like, like just drinking his
Yeah,
beer.
he's like,
and-
oh, it's time for my weekly peep show. Let's go. And then
Also,
it's
the
like,
fact that she's
oh,
still fully clothed.
the peep show turns into a freaking telenovela, and I was like, "Oh, this, like I don't have to pay. Usually, you have
He's
to pay
like,
extra
"Oh,
for
damn."
this." Then
right? This took an interesting turn. Let's see what happens.
I really liked the actress they cast for Susan too. I thought she was really, really pretty.
oh, Bonnie Bedelia,
Yes.
yeah, she
Yeah.
played John McClane's wife in Die Hard, that you never saw, and she was in another Stephen King property of Needful Things. She played the main character's wife, which is not Ed Helms, Ed something. I'm forgetting what his name is, but he plays a cop role, and it's kind of very much similar to like the Ben Mears role that he's not really like a stranger to the town, but he knows there's some weird shit going on that's supernatural, and he's trying to figure it all out. But yeah. Bonnie Bedelia's been through a couple of projects that sadly no one gives her any praise, and I think she's
did a good
retired.
job.
She's the aunt to Macaulay Culkin.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I just looked this up. Yeah, she's 74
That's
years old.
interesting.
She's still living. She appeared
Nice.
back in 2017 on Designated Survivor, and then on the Netflix series What If in 2019. So she is still doing work, and she still has some stuff in post-production coming out this year. She's still getting work.
Dang.
Yeah.
Nice, love that for her.
Atta girl.
There was a
get that
lot of
Culkin money.
Ben. Facts. There was a lot of Ben blaming himself in the movie that didn't happen really in the books, so that was interesting. It was an interesting choice.
I wonder how much of that got cut out from the final cut. Because the blaming stuff, because even then I haven't been able to really find deleted scenes. So I don't know if they even decided to add that into like a special feature thing. But yeah.
Yeah, the black suit moment where they were like immediately trying to investigate Straker. Like he could just not bring his suits in. I don't know what that was supposed to do, why that was added, but I was like, okay.
Oh, because Ben found what was supposed to be a fiber that looked very similar to the suit that Straker wore when they were looking for the Blick Boys. They found out, so the only reason that they asked for the suit was they were looking to check if that suit was ever actually damaged. But also, too, Straker could have had like a whole nother one and just burned that one and then said, I only have 2 suits. Because he told him, I have 2 suits. He could have been lying right there. Yeah. And it's all... And Straker, I'm pretty sure Straker's a lot smarter than the average bear here. And, you know, he's looked at it as like, fuck, I tore it. You know, I need to sit there and I need to get rid of this because this could be used against me and everything could be blown all to hell.
Yeah, I just don't know as a director choice why they added that little subplot in. I don't know what it did because it wasn't in the book. I didn't think it was necessary,
I
to be honest.
was it not in the book? I thought it was in the
No,
book. No?
I don't remember it in the
Well,
book at all.
they probably added that to add some more to the point. They're looking at Straker and Ben as maybe one of the root cause why the boys have disappeared. Why
Mhm.
one appeared sick
Yeah.
as ever with all those illnesses, and why the one that they still are trying to look for has not showed up. So that was probably Gillespie's way of, I need to figure out who are these two individuals, and then also to find out that there's a Mr. Barlow coming, but he's in New York right now on a buying trip. They kept to that like the book, where
Yeah.
that was the reason why Barlow wasn't quote unquote around. But the thing about this miniseries is they even show, even before Ben gets there, that, you know, uh Barlow's uh Barlow's energy and power was already there, it seemed. Like even before he got there. It's very much like Dracula, where that presence and that fear was already looming.
Hmm.
You know, it's like he already planted that dark seed, and you know, the people are just gonna see, do I live or die? And
Yeah, I thought that scene was very much like a way of pinning it to him, because like Ben was at the crime scenes, obviously, so that's easy to pin. But I was like, okay, how do you pin it besides he's just new in town? And then
Yeah.
for it to be like, you wear a suit all the time. That's kind of like a little
Yeah.
bit of like that extra, um, what's the word? Like not motivation, but like extra little bit that can push you to be like, okay, he's not just new in town. He may have
Mhm.
something to do with this.
yeah,
Because
Yeah.
even living in a small town for me, like if someone new shows up and stuff weird starts happening, I'm not immediately like, oh, it's this person because they're new in town. It's like, this town's full of weirdos anyway. It
Mhm.
could be
Yeah.
just any one of them. So just being new isn't really a, hey, let's go check this person out.
but also too,
Yeah.
for this in a storytelling standpoint, this is just for the screenwriter and the director to also have the audience be involved with who do they think, because if no one's ever read that book, this is their first time being taught
Yeah.
this story, being told this.
Mhm.
So you always have to keep your audience engaged, even if it is something that's like, why is this in the movie? As long as it kind of could help push the narrative and push the people to think, who could have possibly have done this. We already kind of get this oddball feeling from Straker. We know we're
Mhm.
supposed to like Ben. We know Straker's been wearing these suits. Ben finds this little piece of fabric that's been on here, so we're supposed to in our mind think, oh shit, that could be Straker's, because he's been parading around in these suits. He doesn't
Mhm.
show any other suits
Yeah.
whatsoever. So 2 + 2 =. That's the one thing for
Yeah.
screenwriters and storytellers in film is, don't give them the answer, let them figure it out themselves. You know,
Yeah.
give them 2 + 2 and let them figure out 4. um
Fair enough. I do think it was interesting that they added in that Susan already went to New York City, so at least it felt like her life reached its goal. You know what I mean? Like that was like a big goal in the book, was for her to at some point go to New York City, and then obviously she dies. So
yeah,
it's
this one
nice
they
that
gave
they,
it to her.
yeah. But the thing that was interesting to me is that she has this whole job interview in Boston, and like Ben is freaking out about it. I'm like, Ben, listen, you can literally work from anywhere. Why are you stressed about her living in Boston?
Right.
Just write in Boston. Like that's the one nice part about being a writer. You can do it wherever you are. Like sure, sometimes you need to study a town, but like you don't have
Based
to settle.
on.
In this adaptation though, it really sit there and feels like what the book the sorry where the book kind of, I don't know, to me it didn't really state why he was there other than just to write a book. In this adaptation, it really sit there and shows that the theme is, it's or Ben's goal was to also confront the evil that he saw back then. You know, he needs something new to write because the last book failed. So it's like, what do I write about? Well, I'm gonna go confront my old fears from childhood when I saw Hubie Marston hung in the second floor. So that's what I'm going to go do. It's not only going to be a writing project, but it's going to be something that I am going to conquer my fear. And in doing so, him trying to conquer his fear he ends up finding something a little bit more fearful lurking in
Yeah.
that house. And of course, then it still always, asks the question, because to me, one of the thematic questions is, can a house truly be evil?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it just simply a vessel for evil? Like, is it the house or is it the people? And this really answers it, that maybe it could actually be both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From approximately where it is to Boston is only 2 hours and 30 minutes. Also,
Yeah.
like,
What do they do?
okay, buddy, I guess. It's not that far of a drive.
Mhm.
And so it's like you could easily work it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like it's like 2 days away. It's 2 hours.
I mean, you can also, if you really need to be there weekend in your hometown during the week, live in Boston,
Yeah, exactly.
or vice versa, weekend in Boston with your girlfriend.
Mm-hmm. Switch
You
off
know?
or something.
Yeah, I feel like it's not that hard.
No.
It's not that big a deal. But also, like, the whole subplot of him writing the book about the Marston House was in the book itself, but it wasn't as, like,
Focal pointed.
yeah, as this one made
Yeah.
it.
It was more tossed around by the town almost immediately, it seemed like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, he was very kind of like hush-hush about it in the book, and then this one he's just like, oh yeah, I'm writing about the house, and everyone's like, he's writing about the house.
Oh my god, the house.
But like even then,
house!
there was some people that seemed a little bit more entertained by it. Like, oh god, like a very famous author is writing about our town, and it's like, obviously that's King stroking right there. Like,
Mhm.
as famous as he's got, he's like, I get to write about my state. And I'm pretty sure most people who, when a new Stephen King book comes out, they're like, oh, I wonder what place in Maine is now too horrible to live in Stephen King's world. Like, as much as it could probably be a great tourist attraction, at the same time, I'm pretty sure some folks from Maine would be like, God damn, freaking Stephen King. It's like, we had such a nice, cozy little town. Now everyone's all like, run away. I saw Pennywise in the storm drain. And it's like, what the hell?
No, but hear me out. When we get our camping vans, we should go on a Stephen King road trip.
Okay. Most
I
of the
just-
towns he sets things in are just made up, but they're in, like, actual areas.
I don't care. I want to take photos by things that were either in the movies, or if there's an actual town name. I just think it could be fun. Just a little fun road trip going through Maine, mostly.
I mean,
And what, she finds out all those areas and everything from like the movies. It's like, oh, we're gonna have to go to California. We're gonna have to go up to Canada. Shit.
Listen.
like, Salem's Law obviously isn't a real town, but it's in Cumberland County, and it mentions like Falmouth and Portland and Cumberland, which are real towns.
Mhm.
And it mentions some other ones at one point. At one point, it mentions Waterville, which is where I'm from.
Yeah, I forgot. I don't think I even noticed that. Like, I noticed they said like Portland, Maine, and I was like, oh, I've been there, but I don't think I saw Waterville, which is funny.
It was mentioned like once in the very like end of the novel. It said someone was coming down from Waterville. So
Well, they're dead
and then
now.
like, yeah, Bangor is a real place. Bangor is where the Stephen King house is. And you can go. It's
Derry's
super
made
creepy.
up, right? Derry's the made up town.
Derry.
Where is that supposed to be, right? Yeah, Derry, Maine.
Because
Derry is when Insomnia, I think Insomnia, and it take place in.
I know Gary, Indiana is a real town.
Because there's quite a few Stephen King towns that are iconic that are completely made up.
The fictional town of Derry that appears in so many of stories is based on Bangor.
Oh, okay. So his home, yeah.
The second largest city in the state.
Amazing.
It's fine. Yeah, I was looking up a map of where some of the places were the other day, just for the fun of it.
I wanted to. Is there like a book nerd road trip map? Has anybody come up with that yet?
Hold on, I'm gonna look at this.
No, but you just gave me a paycheck to do now, so someone's gonna pick it up.
Yeah, love that. Someone figure it out. I don't want to make one. I just want someone else to tell me all the good spots.
Ooh.
American Gods is ripe for that book nerd.
No, go away. I'm trying to read this thing.
So
Well,
American
that's
Gods, they go
kind
all
of-
over the US.
I'm looking at. Aha. Is this it? This might be something. I'm gonna pop it here.
Can you hear the purrs?
Purr, purr.
Oh, perfect.
Why is the University of Maine here?
Okay, but like, dude, that freaking
It met him at the library. Okay. What? The
Hell
what?
yeah. The gate at Stephen King's old house. God damn.
Yeah. I think they're
Killer.
trying to get into like a writing thing or something.
Yeah. You have to get there in advance, and you like pay, and I think you get to like stay for like a certain amount of bit, and he like does like a table reading of your works and everything, and like he helps you with whatever project that you go there. I think you have to sit there and tell them what's the project, and if it's like a screenplay or a book. And I think he more or less schedules it so like there are screenwriters, and then there are novelists, and then short stories, and he kind of does like almost like a table read.
That's cool. I still need to read on writing. Everyone's told me to do it. And
we read a lot of that in creative writing. That was one that we did a lot.
Multiple people just sent me a PDF version of it.
Oh, here we go. This is what I was looking for. I think that's what I was looking for. An archive and retreat.
I mean, if we had money, this would be fun. To go on a writing retreat.
You can literally go up to the gate. People take pictures in front of the gate in the house all the time.
That's cool.
Like, let me see. If you look it up on Instagram, the location, you see people doing it all the time.
Very good.
Standing there all the time.
Let's see. Anything we need to finish up with? Let me look.
The antlers.
Oh my god, yes, we need to talk about the freaking antlers. I don't understand why they made the doctor's death, him being impaled on antlers, but they still kept the falling scene, but it just didn't hurt anybody. I don't understand what the cause of that was.
I never got it unless maybe that was a visual thing that the director wanted, that maybe falling into the dark, being plunged, that would have, that works for a book, but visually, we're working in a visual medium. I think that did a little bit better.
I feel like you should throw through him at least or something.
Yeah. I like him getting impaled on the antlers was that part I liked. It was the part of Stricker just walks over, picks him up, and then just walks over and just shoves him on.
Yeah, there's obviously this huge room of gap that
there's no fighting. He's just okay, picks him up like he's a tiny child too, just as effortlessly. Yeah. I'm all right, I would have been okay with you getting yeeted against these, but why are we walking you and just here you go, push.
This movie kind of gave Barlow some super strength.
They're quite pointy, but they're not. If you're just pushing someone on it, it's just gonna hurt like a bitch.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a painful, slow death.
Yeah, it's not gonna be just oh, they're gonna come right through you. It's gonna hurt because they're not points. They're grounded.
Yeah.
So just walking him on it made no sense.
And it's so weird to give him superhuman strength and the ability to carry a grown man and impale him on antlers. But yet when he walks down the damn stairwell to confront Ben and Mark, and fucking Ben just puts 5 bullets in his ass and he just fucking drops.
Yeah.
In the book, obviously it made it sit there seem like he was a superhuman strength level guy compared to Mark, because Mark was a child. So he was able to manhandle him a little bit better.
Mhm.
as well as Susan, but yeah, in this movie adaptation, yeah, it's like randomly, I don't know, maybe you could try to bullshit and say it's an adrenaline rush that he had, that it's like, oh my God, I'm going to kill this motherfucker. And like the adrenaline rush just came in. But to
Yeah.
grab a guy by his arms like that, for one, he would have been able to wiggle, but also in shock too. Someone just randomly came up, you're going to freeze up. But to pick him up, and then you have that time of like, and then bam, he gets. But I still gotta say, it's a
Yeah.
really good shot of like how like his eyes are almost rolling in the back of his head. It's a wonderful shot, but yeah, it's very laughable with those couple of seconds and frames before then, where
Yeah.
it just boom, picks him
Like,
up,
just-
like he's Herman Munster and just
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I also
Yeah.
am a little disappointed that they cut all of Father Callahan's screen time.
Yeah.
I know, he was there like once. And he
Yeah.
was just like
He was there for the
shaky-
Glick boy,
Yeah.
and then he was there to why was he there with Mark? Because
To talk about him imagining, quote unquote, Danny
okay, so the
Glick,
parents
And,
called
like,
him.
yeah.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I didn't like that at all.
Yeah,
But
that was
because-
just weird.
That was a huge switch around, because even like Mark's dad didn't really come off as a religious guy. He didn't really sit there, like in the book, he didn't sit there as like, oh, I'm going to talk to, the father about our
Yeah.
son's behavior. No, in the book, it's like, I can do it myself. I don't need
Yeah.
some holy man coming in here telling me how to fucking raise my
Yeah.
own kid. Whereas this one, it's all like, oh my God, Mark with all those monsters, and then he's not crying because the Glick boys have died. Like, what's wrong with our boy? Is he a psychopath? Yeah, no, there's really not. But again,
also-
we are compressing almost 600 pages into 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also no reason for Susan to have gone to the Marston house at all,
Yeah,
which was annoying.
Mhm.
Because that her turning into a vampire just didn't make sense. And then
and they changed that iconic role from the book. That iconic moment where Ben was supposed to stake her at the house.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
changed all of that.
Yeah.
I did
Which-
like that she found them though.
I did.
Yes.
That was pretty good though.
It was pretty solid, but like also I was just annoyed because it's like she shouldn't have even had to have been in that situation.
Yeah.
Because
exactly.
of the changes they made. I also was really mad about how loud they were being inside the Marston house when they're trying to like sneak around. I'm like, shut up, you idiots! They're like stomping around, throwing shit, running
Mark,
into
though, in the book
things.
broke a window.
Yeah,
He broke it, so either way they would have known. Barlow would have known unless Straker was there.
yeah.
But when that happened, Straker was behind them. He was just coming home, so they didn't act quick enough. Where I think in the movie he was there in the house. He just
Yeah.
quickly got him, knocked them out, and yeah.
Yeah,
But also
it's
too,
just-
they try to keep it all at the Marston house. That was where evil reigned. They didn't have it where evil moved over to where Ben was at. You didn't spend much time where Ben was housed at.
Yeah, I did like that. Like having it more at this house.
Yeah, me too.
I didn't like how we had like no Mark and Ben, and then all of a sudden they're just like best buddies.
Yeah.
Like they
I
hardly
know.
knew each other, and then he's like, "Oh, I gotta go with Ben. Bye." And it's like,
And they kept saying each other's names when Mark didn't know their names.
yeah,
It's
Like,
just one of
he's
those
like-
ones of like he had to have heard it around or something, or
I guess.
he was just like, "Oh, gotta go find Ben," and it's like, how do you know this guy? You haven't even met him yet.
Yeah. The other
also
thing that-
too, there could be deleted scenes where they had probably previously have met, but obviously, it's not like today where we
Yeah.
have deleted scenes where you could sit there. It's like, oh, well, okay, this makes sense, that makes sense. Even though, Star
Yeah.
Wars was 77, and they still kept their deleted scenes, and this is only 2 years after Star Wars, but not many sets kept their deleted scenes. They just sat there and kept them on the cutting room floor, and then they were never
Yeah.
properly taken care of, and so they're lost to
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
One thing that I was kind of laughing about though is in the scene where they have to find the fruit cellar. Mark is like obviously looking at this very obvious door, and he's like poking around. He's like, "I think there's a door here." Yeah, no shit, buddy. I also think there's a door there. Like, what? I could
Right?
not handle it. It made me laugh so hard.
No, dude,
actually
that's
like it
totally
when-
a wall. It's fine. You know, there's
Yeah.
nothing there.
I like it when they finally get to Steak and Barlow, and he tells him, "Don't look," and he just shoves his kid, and this kid just goes
Yeah.
right into the wall, and it's like, yeah, concuss the child, you know. Though, of course,
Yeah.
also too, Ben, I think, popped the shit out of him quite a few times in the book, you know, fighting him to prevent the gun thing, but
Yeah.
you know. Just that scene alone of "don't look at him," and he just shoves him, and that poor damn kid just like knocks his head, and but he was quick to lose. You know, he didn't fight Ben, but you know, the whole thing of like when he's looking, and it's creepy because it's how the light is swinging back and forth, and it's that intensity of
Yeah. And the vampires
they're
crawling
about
back.
they're about to kill Barlow here, and you're looking in the back, and you're seeing the reflection of their eyes, and you're seeing Tibbets, you're seeing Mike, you're seeing Eva and Weasel, uh, uh, Bonnie, you're seeing all of them under there walking towards it, and it's like, oh my god, kid, turn around and look, you know, close
Oh
the
no,
door.
Bonnie got out of town. Bonnie wasn't there.
Pretty sure I saw her though.
They were out of town like immediately.
Are you sure you're not thinking of Gillespie and his kids and his family? Parkins left with his
No,
kids.
he left, but Bonnie and Cullen also left after he beat her.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go back and watch that one then.
Yeah, double check it. I might be wrong, but
because I remember seeing down in the cellar there was a woman in pink, and that was what Bonnie was wearing the night that.
Unless they fucked up and just put her in.
Yeah,
there.
they could have sat there and had, we need more bodies. Okay, it's like.
Yeah.
Maybe no one will notice, and I'm over here. It's like I noticed.
Yeah, I didn't see her, but yeah, they like had her out of
you
town.
even see Crockett, and what's funny is none of these vampires like change wardrobes, so they're still in the same clothes. So Larry Crockett's still in his freaking boxers as a vampire, and he's just crawling in the dirt. And it's like, yeah, Fred Ward, you get dirty in there, like just crawl.
Well, the thing that's funny to me though is they changed Danny Glick's outfit and put him in PJs. He was the only vampire that got put in PJs because when he went over, he was just wearing normal kid clothes.
Right, yeah.
And then when he visits them, he's like scraping on the window in pajamas.
Yeah. Holy shit! Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody else
I've seen this. I used to watch this almost once a month now. God. Let's see. This is why we have other people watch this so that they can sit there and look at all the other little details. And it's like, now I gotta pay attention to that.
Yeah, that's in my notes. Is why is he wearing pajamas?
Yeah, because he was the one that disappeared.
Yeah.
And everything. So unless like something happened in the clothes where they were so damn ripped, and he's all like, "Oh, I gotta go to my mom's place and change my PJs because my clothes are all ripped and I've shit my pants," and stuff like that. Where vampires don't want to sit in what they brew. Like they gotta change their clothes from.
Look at Susan's outfit 2 years later, and she's wearing this gorgeous ball gown. Gown, I guess.
But also too, I think because of what they did with Barlow, is that also too, it was supposed to be more of a mockery to the bride, to like the idea of religious matrimony. And so when they were there in the epilogue, I think that was supposed to be more because in most writing, if you're really really good at your religious subtext, you always bring up the number 3. You always kind of bring up something that's super religious, like marriage or sex of any kind, anything that is supposed to be deemed godly. You mock it. That's your easy cannon fodder of, you want to scare someone, mock something very sacred and religious to them. Like when Barlow confronted Callahan and everything, and he just grabbed that cross and just threw it down on the ground. Even though there wasn't all that cool stuff that was in the book, even then for like what was used as a visual, that was a great visual, especially when he felt like that power was failing. We didn't get the cool glow. We didn't get any of that, but you could feel it regardless. And it's just grabs the cross and just throw it aside. And that was enough right there. You didn't need all the extra special effects those two actors alone. And it's so sad that Reggie Alder is not shown a lot in this movie, because it's really, really great. It's really great. What's it called? Special effects used on him. They only used them for like certain highlights, but I think that was also hide the monster. They were still following those old school horror movie filmmaker tropes of, especially if the monster didn't look good, you hit him in the shadows, and you did this. And you didn't do it until the full face reveal when they actually probably had the whole costume done. So I'm pretty sure for him that was only 2 days of work, or 1 day of work, you know. But that in the scene where like they kill him and he starts melting, that's my favorite part.
That was
I love
pretty
that
good.
scene.
I did not expect him to melt, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Right?
They were bringing in other lore from other film vampires, because that obviously never happened to Straker. I don't think, Straker did not deteriorate. He just died. That was it. You know?
Yeah.
It would have been even funnier in the book if they would have hit it to home of like, okay, we staked him, now to make sure it stays, and then you just slam the coffin right there. It's like, yeah, that bitch is in there, you know.
Very good. Yeah, but that is all we have time for.
Oh man.
Thank you guys so much for joining me. I've already got to edit 2 hours, so we're going to have to cut it short.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no. Oh, good, you guys came back. It paused, and I was like, oh, God, I'm not losing 2 hours of audio.
You just like poofed away, and I was like,
yeah, and
the
like
same
Nova
thing just
moved
happened
over
to
here.
Chris.
I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I still got green check marks. I think we're fine.
Okay.
But, oh my God. Okay. All right. Well, thank you both for joining me. Nova, where can all the people of the internet find you and your stuff?
People can find me pretty much anywhere at Novasaurus Rex with 2 X's. I've got like a link tree linked to some of them, and you can pretty much find me, you know, find one, you find them all type thing.
James, where can the people of the internet find you and your stuff?
You can find me on Twitch and most of my socials at the Gothic Storyteller, and on Twitter at the Gothic Wafer.
And we will see you guys on Patreon discussing the 04 version, which James
Boo. Hates. Woo! I mean, yeah, Rob Lowe. He's still hot and handsome, right?
All right. We will see you guys on Patreon. Thank you all so much for listening. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you all so much for listening to this episode of the Barely Bookish podcast. If you want to find me, I'm at Barely Bookish on everything. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, all the important things like that. But I should be starting Twitch again soon, next week, hopefully. The Wi-Fi is somewhat working again after almost a month, so you should be seeing more of me here in the near future. Also, if you want to listen to the Salem's Lot 04 version of the movie, that should be up on Patreon shortly, so be sure to check that out and you can all enjoy that. But our next book we're going to be discussing is going to be Black Beauty, so that'll start next week. We're going to do half of the book the first recording and then half of the book the second recording, so it's going to be great and I'm excited to talk about it. And it's going to be with Nova again. So our logo is designed by my little sibling Sarah. Our theme song was by Raphael Crux. And I'll catch you all next week. Bye!